My mom was born in 1945 in St. Joseph, Michigan. She lived there for most of her life. She liked to ride horses as a kid. Mom was a good student. She played in the band. She was salutatorian of her high school class. She met my dad sometime she was in high school. When she graduated from high school, my dad was going to Harding University. Her parents did not want her to go to Harding. She went to David Lipscomb for a year. After that year, decided that she was going to go to Harding, but get married to my dad. And so they got married. They didn't have a lot of extra income for dating and different things. So when there were obstacles to them being together, they just got married. And that solved that. They moved back to Michigan, and my dad was a teacher and a coach, and they owned a drive-in restaurant. Then they eventually sold that. Then my dad was a teacher and a coach in South Haven, Michigan for several years. I guess I must have been in the 5th grade. My dad began working full-time for the Church of Christ in South Haven, Michigan. He was a bus minister. It was a family affair. My mom was involved with preparing teaching materials and teaching the teachers who taught on the buses. So the bus would have a driver, of course, a captain, and a teacher. And they wouldn't just pick up kids and bring them to church. They would teach and sing on the bus. And that was a big part of our lives growing up. At some point, after a couple of years, times got tough in that church, and my mom went to work for a printing press. Then eventually, my dad went back to teaching. There was a year when 10,000 teachers were laid off in Michigan. That's how we moved to Texas. My mom taught at Westbury Christian School. Then she taught at Beverly Hills Intermediate. Meanwhile, my dad was teaching high school and coaching at Pasadena High School. When I went to college, my parents decided to adopt John when he was 1 year old. We didn't know he had any challenges to overcome. We found that out after the first year or two. John must have been 2 to 3 when my dad passed away. During that time, while my dad was in and out of leukemia treatment at MD Anderson, my mom started a daycare to bring in extra money and raise John at the same time. And then when Dad couldn't teach and all his days ran out, she started teaching and taught his classes and filled in for him. When my dad passed, Mom went back teaching full-time. Initially, she taught math, and then she went back to school to get her mid-management degree, a master's degree that enabled her to become an assistant principal. She would work with teachers, she would work with counselors, she would create the master schedule. If you think about the complexity of a couple hundred teachers and maybe a couple thousand different classes and figuring all of that out, well, she did that. She ended up winning Assistant Principal of the Year for the entire state of Texas. There was a teacher that had a substance abuse problem, and she would not let that teacher give up. She did everything she could to mentor that teacher. She was always ready to quote a scripture to the kids. Any arguing or things, she would always quote from Ephesians, "Do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouths." So she worked at Pasadena until she retired. Meanwhile, she's taken John to Special Olympics. She's looking out in the district to find the best elementary school, the best middle school that has the teachers that she's confident that can work with John and always raise him to follow God and to be a man of prayer. She would work with John to help him learn to be independent as much as he could be and to help him deal with any frustrations. After Mom retired, she spent time being a grandmother. She went on a cruise, she went on long driving road trips, driving from Texas to Oregon and to Michigan and then back to Texas. Mom was an avid reader. I think she was a very hard worker, very willing to mentor others. She was very organized. She was very patient, very understanding. She was always a good listener, non-judgmental. She would always drop everything to come help us in difficult circumstances. I think I'm going to miss just talking to her. I started missing that several years ago because I couldn't get her advice or her wisdom because, it was kind of trapped in her mind with her dementia. So I missed that, and I've missed talking to her and joking with her, sharing life with her. When we had to go by Trinity Oaks after we moved everything out, it was hard to go there and know that we're not going back. It was such a part of our lives. It was a hard part of her life and a hard part for us, but we'll miss it.